Greetings and salutations. Thank you for lending an ear to The Voice of the Times this Monday, March 22, 2021. For today's editorial, Palace eschews scaremongers, says no lockdown for next fortnight. The administration finally took notice of the persistent fear-mongering and propaganda of the VOTT group, which has been prodding the government to proclaim a 2-week lockdown that would serve as a kind of circuit breaker for the recent surge of coronavirus cases or infections in the country. Speaking through Palace spokesman Harry Roque Jr., Malacanang announced on Saturday that there would be no lockdown in the National Capital Region, or Metro Manila, in the next 2 weeks, contrary to reports that have been circulating online. Roque branded as false the reports that the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF-EID, had decided to implement a circuit breaker lockdown, initially for a period of 2 weeks. He was asked by reporters about a text circulating online that the task force purportedly conducted a press briefing about the alleged lockdown. The fact is, he said, the IATF-EID at its meeting last Thursday decided to approve only stricter guidelines for observance during the period. Roque outlined the guidelines at a briefing of the Malacanang press corps. In addition to the uniform curfew imposed in Metro Manila, the IATF-EID reiterated in its Resolution 103 the need to observe minimum health standards of physical distancing and wearing of face masks and face shields at all times. Meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibition events shall be limited to essential business gatherings at 30% venue capacity, the resolution said. Religious gatherings shall also observe 30% of venue capacity provided that there is no objection from the local government unit or LGU where the religious gathering will take place, provided further that such LGUs have the discretion to allow higher venue capacity not exceeding 50% based on conditions in their localities, the IATF-EID said. The IATF-EID also ordered the reduction to maximum of 50% of capacity the business operations of dine-in restaurants, cafes, and personal care services, while national government agencies are encouraged to defer the conduct of non-critical activities that would entail mass gatherings. To ensure that the measures are strictly followed, the IATF-EID also empowered the LGUs to issue their own regulations subject to the needs of their respective villages. At the same time, the government has also temporarily suspended the entry of foreigners into the country from March 21 to April 21. All Filipinos are still allowed to return to the Philippines, subject to IATF-EID quarantine rules and immigration regulations. The government will be suspending the entry of foreigners except for diplomats and members of international organizations and their dependents. Foreigners involved in medical repatriations, duly endorsed by the Department of Foreign Affairs Undersecretary for Migrant Workers Affairs and the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, are also exempted from the temporary travel ban. The foregoing is without prejudice to immigration laws, rules, and regulations such that the Commissioner of Immigration shall have the exclusive prerogative to decide on waiver or recall of exclusion orders for all foreign nationals authorized entry under relevant IATF-EID resolutions, subject to regular reporting to the IATF-EID Secretariat at the end of each calendar month, the IATF-EID said. The entry of all of the foregoing shall still be subject to such daily limit of incoming passengers as may be imposed by the Department of Transportation, it added. The loudest advocate of a circuit breaker lockdown is the VOTT group, which since the start of the community quarantine a year ago has made propaganda capital of the pandemic. For reasons never explained, it has repeatedly issued wild and scary forecasts about the pandemic, as though it had a license in soothsaying. Although members of the group are evidently teachers or instructors at the University of the Philippines, the university has no official connection with the group or its findings. VOTT does not conduct scientific or professional research on the pandemic for a reputable institution. All it does is extrapolate the daily figures reported by the Department of Health. The Palace's belying of the circuit breaker canard will not silence VOTT. It is already testing a new hair-raising forecast in the media. And that's the editorial for Monday, March 22, 2021. For more news and information, get a copy of the Manila Times on print, subscribe to our digital edition, or log on to www.manilatimes.net. Follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, and listen to The Voice of the Times.